You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
Is your pet stressed out? Does your pet need annual vaccines? Which pet is best for a child? Would you know if your dog was in pain? Pet Life Radio presents The Pet Doctor, where you'll learn everything about keeping your pet healthy and happy. From pet care, pet meds and grooming, to pet food, pet insurance, and dental care, this is the place to find out everything there is to know about pet wellness. Whether you have a dog, cat, reptile, or rabbit, you'll find answers for your pets straight from the vets, because it's your pet. Health matters. Please welcome your Pet Doctor host, veterinary media consultant and veterinarian, Dr. Bernadine Cruz.
Animal lovers, we know we're softies. We cry at schmaltzy TV commercials that feature distressed critters. We open our hearts and wallets to myriad of causes. But recent news reports have revealed that even some well-known, apparently legitimate charities are helping their personnel more than their intended recipients. How do you find a foundation that deserves your support? What have they done with the money we've given them? What contributions have they made to the welfare of animals and the people who love them? Paul Raybould is the Executive Vice President of the Morris Animal Foundation. We'll learn about an organization that's concerned with bats to cats, canines to quarter horses, and has a 4-star rating with Charity Navigator. We'll be right back.
Please have a seat in the waiting room. The doctor will be with you shortly, right after these messages.
Buster, you're telling me my dog food products can't go on your shelves?
That's right. Didn't pass one of my Petco certified nutrition checklists. Sorry, Wayne.
Who made these checklists?
Geniuses. Very smart guys.
Well, it's good enough for most grocery stores.
Do you see cheese puffs on my shelves? Mayonnaise? Soda pop?
No.
That's because I ain't running no grocery store, Wayne. Your pets will get better nutrition, I guarantee it. Petco, where healthy pets go.
Enter the code Dr10, DOCTOR, the number 10, and get 10% off any order. No minimum at Petco.com.
There's a movement afoot, ShoeBuy.com. Join the millions of people who shop ShoeBuy.com's over 400 brands and 500,000 products. Order now and get free shipping and free return shipping. ShoeBuy.com, the world's greatest shoe store.
Walk your dog in style and comfort. Enter the code DOCTOR, DOCTOR, at checkout and get a 10% discount plus free shipping at ShoeBuy.com.
How would you like your business to reach out and invite in our audience? We have a brand new trademark concept called InfoSeeds. InfoSeeds are short 20-second seeds of information about your place of business, practice, or service. Is the best, most cost-effective way to invite us in. We only have a limited number of slots left. For more information, visit the website
PetLifeRadio.com.
Click on sponsorship information. There you can listen to a sample of InfoSeed. Remember, only a limited number of opportunities are available.
Hi, this is Tim Link, host of Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Join me as we feature interviews with best-selling pet-related authors, award-winning writers, journalists, and bloggers. And we'll tell stories about the animals and interesting topics about the animals in our lives. Each of the interviews will give you a first-hand knowledge about why the authors and writers chose a particular story, what the feature animals meant to them, and what has become of those animals that we've talked about. And of course, I'll also share stories from my own books, blogs, articles, and experiences. So be sure to join me and the writers and authors on Animal Rights.
Every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com. Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com. Welcome back to the Pet Doctor on Pet Life Radio with Dr. Bernadine Cruz. The doctor is in, and we'll see you now.
Paul, I thought I knew a fair amount about Morris Animal Foundation, but this organization is spectacular. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Bernadine, for inviting me on.
So some of the listeners may have heard about the Morris Animal Foundation. I know I interviewed somebody, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Patty Olson, Dr. Patty Olson, a while back. But for those who don't remember, what is the Morris Animal Foundation?
Morris Animal Foundation is a non-profit organization, and our goal is to create a healthier tomorrow for animals. We fund veterinary medical studies to protect, treat, and cure the animals we all love throughout the world. That includes dogs, cats, horses, and wildlife.
Now, there's a real push right now in the world to have one health, one world, one medicine. And from looking at some of the research projects that the Morris Animal Foundation has funded, that also seems to be some of your focus. Is that correct?
Correct.
What are some of the studies that you're presently involved with?
Well, our two biggest initiatives right now are working together toward better health for dogs and cats. So Morris Animal Foundation's Canine Cancer Campaign funds research to prevent, treat, and ultimately cure this disease in dogs. And part of that effort includes a nationwide canine cancer walk program to raise awareness and support for canine cancer research. And some of the work we do actually translate over to human medicine. So when we talk about One Health and translational medicine, we're certainly playing within that area. Happy Healthy Cat campaign, another big campaign of ours, is funding studies to advance diagnostics, preventions, and treatments for feline diseases. And it also includes an effort to improve the lives of shelter cats.
And that is so sad because I've heard some recent statistics where dogs, when they end up at the shelter, yes, many of them are not adopted, but there is a huge percentage of cats, when they end up at the shelter, never find homes. What is the Morris Animal Foundation trying to do for these shelter kitties?
Well, in 2008, an anonymous donor came to us, and she wanted to help us with shelter cats, and she wanted to know why many shelter cats that came in with upper respiratory infections, essentially, the snivels, were being euthanized, and what could we do to help? So we worked with the donor to establish a dollar-for-dollar matching challenge grant, and the donor will match up to $500,000, dollar for dollar. So that will give us $1 million to fund studies. We've been working on this grant for 2 years, and we're in the final year, and we've funded around 5 studies. And with helping shelters help cats, Morris Animal Foundation has been able to fund 5 studies aimed at reducing stress, improving health, and increasing adoption and survival rates of cats in shelters. You can ask, why is it so important for us? Well, the research is important. One of the researchers, in fact, has learned that providing cats with a cage that separates their litter box from their resting and eating areas significantly reduces stress. And reduced stress means reduced risk of infections, infectious diseases like upper respiratory illness. The researcher also designed a new 2-compartment cage that has been very successful in reducing stress and decreasing infectious diseases in cats in shelters. Now, shelters throughout the country are starting to use these cages.
I had the opportunity to listen to a veterinarian, Dr. Kate Hurley, who's very much involved with shelter medicine. And all of a sudden, it's one of those forehead-slapping moments when you're talking about trying to keep cats away from their litter box, that makes them stress. Like, there's only so much room in a cage. You have these kitties in shelters. And she came up with a really neat device where it's almost like a little bunk bed system, very inexpensive to make. And they found that just housing these kitties a bit differently, where they didn't grossly seem stressed sometimes, they just relaxed a little bit more. And cats, for the longest time, veterinarians and pet owners have treated cats like little dogs, dogs like little people, and finding they're really not. Their little brains, their whole body is wired very differently. So something as innocuous as a bunk bed can make a difference. And it's great that Morris Animal Foundation is involved with this.
Absolutely. Well, your listeners can learn more and help at researchforcats.org. That's research, the number 4, cats.org. And it's actually Dr. Hurley over at UC Davis that's done this study on cage design. So it's very exciting. And they really make a difference, the studies we're funding. I mean, the idea is to have, obviously you don't want cats in shelters, but if they're going to be in shelters, let's have them healthy and get them adopted out quickly.
Too many times when people hear the word research, immediately red flags go up and they go, oh my goodness, these poor animals, research is being done on them. And this isn't the type of research that the Morris Animal Foundation is involved with, is it?
No, absolutely not. I mean, you're right. Research does have negative connotations. We're funding humane health studies. So we have a very, very strict animal use policy. And what does that mean? That means the animals that have been used for research, there's a very, very strict policy before we will fund that research. We also have an animal advisory welfare board, which is essentially an ethics committee that also looks at our studies. So, for instance, we shy away from studies where, if we're doing a cancer study, the owner's dog already has cancer. We're not inducing disease or pain or anything nasty like that. I mean, our pets are wonderful, and we couldn't do what we do without the help of our donors and pet-loving public health. We really couldn't. So we have to be very, very careful about the types of science we fund. It really has to meet with all our stringent processes and policies. It has to actually be relevant. It has to be relevant science, and it has to be relevant to our mission.
I think so many people are shocked. So many of my clients come in and we find a lump or a bump on the body and fine needle aspirate or get a biopsy, a piece of the tissue, and come back, and I have to tell them that your pet has cancer. And they're shocked. It's like, oh my goodness, I never would have believed that pets get cancer. But isn't it about 1 in 4 dogs die of cancer?
Absolutely. You're right, Dr. Cruz. 1 in 4 die. It's interesting. Different breeds of dogs get different cancers. And the cancers they get are the same as humans. I mean, I talk to people, even dog owners, that didn't realize dogs could get cancer even now. So we have a lot of education to do. But and a lot of the research we're doing is why do different breeds get different cancers, and why, if you see a cancer in America, for instance, osteosarcoma in golden retrievers, you don't see it so much in England. So what's that all about? Is it nutrition? Is it genetics? Is it environment? What's going on there? So we do a lot of work around that.
I was fascinated when I went to the Morris Animal Foundation website. Something that just really touched me is the fact that you're now taking what they're calling a smart approach to brain cancer. And that is one of the most devastating things. A very good friend of mine has Australian Shepherds, and she had an older girl who was having her aches and pains, but basically doing okay. Had a massive seizure recently, and the diagnosis was brain cancer, and the pet needed to be euthanized. So Paul Raybould, being the executive vice president of the Morris Animal Foundation, talking about cancer. Right now, you had mentioned golden retrievers, and I know that you have a program that's really different. It's a canine lifetime health project that's involving just golden retrievers. Why just them? You don't like other animals, other breeds of dogs?
No, we do, absolutely, and that's a good question. So the Canine Lifetime Health Project, it's what we call a longitudinal study. So we're going to be studying a group of dogs over 15 years, and we're going to be looking at the nutritional, environmental, and genetic causes of cancer and other diseases in dogs. And when we start, and this is the first study of this magnitude in companion animals, and when we started looking at the study, we wanted to bring in different breeds and puppies and older dogs, and we wanted to bring in dogs not only from this country but overseas. And it very quickly became a humongous task, not only in terms of resources but money to fund the study. So we said, okay, we've got to start somewhere. So we're going to break the study into phases. Phase 1 will be 2,500 golden retrievers. And we're working on the plan now as to what age group we're looking at.
That's a huge number.
It is a huge number, yeah. So 2,500. Well, if you look at the science, we wanted it to be scientifically relevant. And the scientists came back and said the optimum number for the data to be scientifically relevant would be 2,500. So that will be phase 1. We will be doing other phases. We'll be bringing in other breeds. We'll be bringing in dogs. We're looking at maybe 500 dogs from England to compare. But there'll be phases as we move on. So through the study. So yes, absolutely, we love all dogs and we want to help all dogs. And of course, what we find out in retrievers will also help other breeds. But we really had to narrow down the focus so we can actually start this study, and that's why we chose golden retrievers.
Now, it sounds as though you only like dogs then, but I know that's not true. what type of research are you doing for cat cancer? Because I know that cats get cancer. It's the number one killer of older cats.
Absolutely. I mean, we have a Happy Healthy Cat campaign, so we fund traditional studies for cat cancer too. So, if you look at the numbers, I think there's 82 million, Dr. Cruz, pet cats in this country, 72 million dogs. There's more pet cats in this country. So we do put a lot of money and time and effort into research for cats. And people often say to me, cats are treated like second-class citizens. Well, we certainly don't want to treat them like that. Cats are fun, and they deserve their fair share of health research also. So we spend a lot of time in that area. Not just shelter cats is important too, but we have to look after the pet kitties at home.
It is so sad because oftentimes, thankfully, people are now keeping more of their cats indoors, and we know that it greatly decreases the chances of exposures to diseases, exposures to cars, and getting smacked by them and killed, and all the other things that go on when they're outside. But too many times, people, when they have a cat indoors, goes, it's healthy. It doesn't need to have vaccines. It doesn't need to have these wellness exams. And that's something that the Moore's Animal Foundation is really trying to debunk a lot of those myths.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of talk in the industry right now about that. Your listeners will know, getting a cat to the veterinarian is very stressful for the cat and very stressful for the owner, and can be stressful for the veterinarian. And there's cat stress. So when you start to do blood work on the cat, you're not getting the results you would like because of the stresses that are going on. So what we're working on with the industry, frankly, is preventative health rather than, I'm guilty of this too. When do I go to the veterinarian? When there's something wrong with my animal, rather than preventatively. You go to the dentist as humans twice a year for cleaning, so that's preventive. So we are trying to educate pet owners, and not just us at Moore's Animal Foundation, but the pet industry. How do we get animals into the veterinarians and educate people on why it is important to get animals into the veterinarians for preventative treatments and a preventative program rather than waiting until the animal's sick? Because, as many of your listeners will know, animals get sick and they go downhill very, very fast, quicker than humans. Prevention is very important. So it's all about education.
And cats are way too good about hiding their signs of illness, because I always tell people, what does a cat do when it feels good? Sleep. And what does a cat do when it's not feeling good? Sleep. So sometimes it's so hard to tell. And since one of our years is about 7 and cat and dog years, yes, preventative medicine is the most important thing. Being proactive, making sure that internally everything is looking good. Sometimes they seem okay from the outside, or maybe you have an older pet who's suddenly losing weight and find out they have something like an overactive thyroid, and that's why they're losing weight, and that's not good for them. We're talking right now with the Executive Vice President of Moore's Animal Foundation, Paul Raybould. We'll be right back after this short break to talk about more ways that you can keep your pets healthy and a great organization. We'll be right back.
Please have a seat in the waiting room. The doctor will be with you shortly, right after these messages.
Love your pets but wish their medications were a lot less expensive? They are at 1-800-PET-MEDS. You'll not only save on flea and heartworm medications, but on prescriptions for arthritis, incontinence, thyroid, and more. And you get fast service, free shipping, and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Plus, our licensed pharmacists ensure accuracy, monitor drug interaction, and more. See why over 5 million people have trusted their pet's health to 1-800-PET-MEDS, America's largest pet pharmacy. Call now or order online.
Go to petmeds.com/doctor, DOCTOR, to get 10% off any order and free shipping on orders of $39 or more at petmeds.com.
I play tennis because I love to. But inside, I want to win. Take away the court, the net. I might not be a player, but I'll always be a competitor. Lady Foot Locker understands that.
Lady Foot Locker,
The first to carry Adidas off-court shoes and the gear that goes with them. If you play your best, there's no regret. Lady Foot Locker. One place, every woman.
Go to ladyfootlocker.com and enter the code AFDOC1LF to get 10% off any order of $50 or more. Or enter the code AFDOC2LF to get 15% off any order of $75 or more at ladyfootlocker.com.
FTD's network of over 40,000 florists around the world have been creating beautiful handcrafted arrangements for 100 years. Each arrangement is delivered the same day and backed by FTD's 7-day satisfaction guarantee. For a century, people have trusted their most important occasions to the flower experts at FTD.
Since Pet Life Radio is all about puppy dogs and flowers, our listeners, that's you, can get a 20% discount on your order. Just go to fleurop.com and use the code DOCTOR20 at checkout. FLEUROP.com, code word DOCTOR and the number 20.
Hi everybody, I'm Megan Blake here with my sidekick Super Smiley, the giant mutt and spokes dog for throwaways. You're listening to Pet Life Radio, and I'd like to tell you about our brand new show, A Super Smiley Adventure. Our show explores adventures with animals. They can be traveling, out in the world trips, or inner journeys where our animals lead us to inspiration and self-discovery, or just plain fun adventures. Join us here on Pet Life Radio on A Super Smiley Adventure. Good boy.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com. Welcome back to the Pet Doctor on Pet Life Radio with Dr. Bernadine Cruz. The doctor is in, and we'll see you now.
Paul, I'd love to back up a moment. You were talking before the break about cancer in dogs and cats. And I know one of the things that the Morris Animal Foundation is sponsoring, and it just sounds like a great way for people to learn that cancer doesn't have to be a death sentence for a pet. Are these dog walks that you're having? Tell us about them.
Yes, Dr. Cruz, our canine cancer walks. They're very successful. We started 2 years ago now, so we're in our third year. We'll do 6 walks around the country this year, and we actually called them Canine Ks, but we changed the name because people thought it was, runners out there thought it was a 9K run. And I said, no, we don't want that. We want it to walk. We want to, people can run if they like, but we want to bring people and their dogs together to support the foundation and just get together and share stories. So we have survivor stories. We have different colored bandanas for dogs that have had cancer and remission. We have tripod dogs there, dogs that have had a limb amputated because of cancer, and we have healthy dogs, and then we have humans that have had cancer, and humans that have not had cancer. So, everybody knows somebody, whether it be human or animal, that's been touched by cancer. So it's almost a celebration of life and our pets, but it's also an education when we bring in scientists and veterinarians. So after the walk's complete, people can picnic and sit and relax with their dogs and visit, and then just we have these presentations to educate people on what we're doing and some of the things to look for with your dog. We have lots of questions. We don't make it too sciencey. We want it to be really reach the lay population. I'm not a veterinarian or a scientist, so it needs to be really simple for me to understand. So we really, really focus on making it a nice day out for people. And the nice thing is we have what we call a sit and stay option, whereby if you want to form a team and you can't make the walk, you can stay at home. And actually the last walk we did at Elk Grove in California, it's just outside of Sacramento, about 3 weeks ago now. We're encouraging cats, people that have cats and dogs. So the cat forms a team for the dog to walk virtually, or just if they can walk, come to the walk, that's even better. So that's kind of funny. We get funny stories around cats saying they want to get the dog out of the house so they can have the Saturday morning free. So it's a fun thing. So the cat forms a team for the dogs to get the dog out of the house. So we have fun with that, and it's quite emotional. When you listen to people's stories, but it's been very successful for us. And the website is canine canine.walk.org. So it's K, the letter K, the number 9, cancerwalk.org. And you can find out more information. And if you miss any of these links, Morris Animal Foundation, our main website, will have the links to the shelter cats and the canine cancer walks.
You had mentioned right now about the tripod, the pets that sometimes because of cancer or because of trauma or other reasons, a limb needs to be amputated. And that is always such a hard decision to make. And so many pet owners are just aghast at the thought of, oh my goodness, how could I ever do that to my pet? And I had a woman with a cat recently who had gone to several board-certified surgeons who, at this kitty, had a cancer that was affecting a rear limb. And though she had heard the words, it needs to be amputated, just couldn't do it. And this tumor kept getting larger and larger and was bleeding and oozing, and the cat was just having a horrible time. And finally I looked at her and I said, I'm sorry, you have two choices. We either amputate the leg or we euthanize your cat because this cat is suffering. And she just started crying because she says, no one has ever been that blunt. I said, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about your kitty. She went ahead, had the surgery done, and came back. She says, oh my goodness, I wish I had known sooner because it was harder on me than it was on the pet. The kitty was released from the hospital like the day after surgery. It took only about 2 days for the kitty to figure out, okay, I have 3 legs, not 4, not a big deal. And she said after the end of about 2 weeks, this cat was running around the house and you couldn't even tell. So 3 legs is not that horrible for a pet. It's harder on us than it is on your pet.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing how quickly they adapt. I mean, I'm very fortunate. Here in Denver, I live on the edge purposely because we have 2 Irish setters of a huge national park, and there's a large off-leash dog area. And you see tripods running around like they had 4 legs fetching the ball, and they're swimming, and they're fetching the stick, and it's amazing. It's quite inspirational to watch them.
They don't know there's a problem, so don't tell them because they're just happy and they're happy to be alive. So we've been talking right now with Paul Raybould. He is the Executive Vice President of the Morris Animal Foundation. But instead of just cats and dogs, I know that the Morris Animal Foundation is involved with other species. Horses. So many of us have horses. I personally don't. Several of the people that I work with do. And horses have a lot of health problems. What are some of the health initiatives that the Morris Animal Foundation is involved with this particular species?
Well, one of the big projects which is finished now, and we haven't talked about it, but I'll touch upon it now because it's not even for horses, but dogs, cats, and other species, is where their genome has been sequenced. So the equine genome, we helped fund some of that work around sequencing of the equine genome, which sounds very sciencey, but it's an extremely important tool for researchers.
And what is the genome?
Well, the genome is the genetic. Actually, Dr. Cruz, you could probably define it better than I could. But it's the genetic makeup of an animal. So you know that the human genome was mapped out. Took 4 or 5 years to do that. So it's a genetic. It's what makes the horse, right? So I think is
their genetic makeup, their DNA, right?
Yeah, their DNA. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a wonderful tool for researchers to use now. So, what are the things we're looking at? Obviously, for horse owners, laminitis is the big disease out there that there is no cure for. So, we're really working on laminitis.
Problems with their hooves, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Colic is basically an upset stomach. It's amazing how something as huge and would seem as powerful as a horse can be taken down because of problems with its feet or problems with its gut. And a lot of people may not be aware that horses literally walk on their toes.
Well, they do. An equine veterinarian explained it to me because the bone that is a tiny little bone with the laminitis impacts. It's like a human walking on his or her middle finger. You think that weight, it's just an amazing animal. So we're doing a lot of research around that. We do a lot of behavioral research too. We want to keep healthy pets in healthy homes. So we've talked a lot about cancer. I think, the biggest killer of animals in this country is euthanasia due to a relinquishment due to some issue in a home, to a shelter where it can't be adopted. So we do a lot of research around that. too. That's equally important. And obviously with horses, there's been a lot of talk about the unwanted horse issue, so we want to make sure, horses have been taken care of in that regard too, and being kept in homes too, and not been relinquished. But a lot of work around the horse, and we've done a lot of good work over the years. I think our first horse study was back in 1952. It was.
Now, you're also doing work with wildlife, and I had mentioned in the introduction that the Morris Animal Foundation is working with bats. And there's a real problem now, and people think, oh, bats, they're scary and Dracula. And I know here in Southern California, bats are a source of rabies. But bats really are very essential for our economy and agriculture. Could you talk a little bit about what Morris Animal Foundation is doing for bats?
Sure. So it's that white-nosed syndrome in bats, which is killing bats. And everything has a place in this world. So, what do bats eat? Well, bats eat bugs. And what do bugs eat? They attack the fruit trees down in Florida and eat the fruit. So there's a link there. So with bats dying out in large numbers, it's almost like it's the same as the honeybee, by the way. It's the same as the issue with the loss of hives in bees. But with bats, there's a place for them. They eat the bugs, they eat the fruit, in simplest terms. So there's this disease that's come along, and it's like, oh my God, what is this? And so we're researching to try and figure out what it is. We're funding research to try and figure out not only what it is, what causes it, how do we cure it, because we really do need the bat populations around the country, to help the farming. It's interesting. Everything's linked. So you're right, people do get scared of bats and rabies and things like that, but they have a purpose, and we're trying to keep them healthy too.
I found it interesting while going to the Morris Animal Health Foundation website and looking up on the research that you were doing on bats, that they really believe that this is one of the biggest wildlife crises in history, and that it was, and I've done it myself, going spelunking, that it's the people who inadvertently are going into these caves because some of them are just spectacular, that they are actually moving this fungus from cave to cave and spreading it amongst the bats, and they're just dying off in huge numbers.
Correct.
The other thing I found while going to your website, I was just so impressed that there's e-news that people can sign up for. There's health videos, going to the subsite for pet owners, just all sorts of information. What things can people find on your website?
Oh, well, yeah, you're right. There's a lot, because we've touched on it, we're so complex. So how do we make the website interesting for people and exciting for them to come on? So they can find out about our various, just generally who we are, but our various initiatives, the Canine Cancer Campaign, the Canine Lifetime Health Project, the Happy Healthy Cat Campaign, the Betty White, the actress, has been a trustee of ours, past president, for 40 years. So we have the Betty White Wildlife Fund, which funds wildlife studies around the world. We have the site, because our mission is to create a healthier tomorrow for animals. It's about advancing veterinary medicine. So pet owners and lovers can come and learn about the work we do and the studies we've done, how to sign up for the canine cancer walks. Veterinary teams can come, and veterinarians can come on the site and look at how what we do can help them with their practice and communicating with their clients about the work we do. And then obviously the researchers that come on that are looking for funding. So,
and what I thought is wonderful, looking at your site, Paul, that sometimes research doesn't find the answer quickly enough. And some pets do need to be euthanized, or there's something you want to do and, I just can't afford it. The Morris Animal Foundation also helps with grief support and financial support. Is that correct?
Well, we can help with grief support. With the financial support, there's a place on the site where we have a list of organizations that will help where, the veterinary bill is too expensive. They will help. We don't actually provide funds for that, but we provide a page with resources of people to do that.
And that's essential. And the other thing that I think is wonderful, so many sites are geared towards the adult. But children really want to learn, and they're the next generation of pet owners. Now, Morris Animal Foundation is also addressing children.
Absolutely. And, if you look today, most veterinarians in school and graduating school are women, and they first become aware that they want to become a veterinarian at the age of 9. Is that true for you, Dr. Cruz?
Yeah, it's probably at least that at 9 years of age.
Yeah, so we thought, well, we needed a site for children. So we have the mafkids.org site. It's an exciting new project. I mean, we just launched it in April. And because of this, because most children decide around 8 or 9 that they would like to become a veterinarian. And we want, to provide kids the opportunity to learn about animal health. I'm excited about it, not only if they want to become a veterinarian or not, but the children are going to be the pet owners of the future. So if we can teach them now some of the work we're doing and how to be a responsible pet owner, that's what I think is way cool. So, the website, features animals, cool animals, and the scientists are working to keep them healthy. And we have a quiz on there and photos of scientists in action, and there's wallpaper that the children can download for their computers. So we're going to continue to build it. We only just opened it in April, but it's a fun, exciting site. It always amazed me. Children are pretty, even 8, 9-year-olds, they're pretty savvy about animals and what ails the world in terms of, when you look at conservation. They're pretty, and I guess, we've got to thank, all the other TV and radio shows out there and magazines for kids, but they're pretty savvy. So we wanted to fill a space that wasn't been addressed in terms of, this is what we do, this is the science we do, and this is why it's important, in a way that children would understand.
And I think it's marvelous. So people who are listening right now and saying, okay, Morris Animal Foundation, I had mentioned that it was a 4-star rated charity. This is an organization that is just so broad-based. If somebody wanted to donate to become more involved, where do they go? What can they do?
Okay, so you can go to morrisanimalfoundation.org. That's the main site. So Morris, M-O-R-R-I-S, morrisanimalfoundation.org. You can go on the site and you can, if you'd like to get involved in the canine cancer walks, you can sign up, come and walk. There's actually a place on the site where you can form your own teams. It's called Team Raiser. So you can form your own team and then go out to your friends and raise money, and you have the little thermometer and you're raising a team. The money for that team and the thermometer raises up. You can set how much you want to raise, whether it's $500 or $5,000, so you can do that. There's also volunteer opportunities around the walks. You can do that. With the Shelter Cat, it's a dollar for dollar match. If you give us $10, $20 goes towards Shelter Cats. So you can sign up for that and make a donation to that. We make donating very easy. As you go on the site, you'll see a Donate Now button. Below that, you'll see an article on Betty White, and she's talking about what she's done to create a healthier tomorrow for animals, so you can learn all about that. And that's really how you can get involved. Again, sign up for the newsletter, an e-newsletter, and let us know your interests. And that's another way. And then with a donation, we have an actual glossy publication that comes out every quarter, so you get to see that. But really, donating, volunteering, learning more about the animals, asking us questions is very, very helpful to us. Talking to your veterinarian. Does your veterinarian know about us? We were founded by a veterinarian back in 1948. So, the good work we do to advance veterinary medicine needs to be shared with the veterinarians to the client. If the veterinarian doesn't know about us, the client can educate the veterinarian. So awareness is very, very important too. So tell your friends about who we are, where we are, and what we do.
And one last thing, if you are able to touch on this, as again on the introduction mentioned that there are some charity organizations where you hope that a huge percentage of your donation, because we all know there's going to be operating costs, keeping websites, up, and the personnel there who can put together these wonderful websites that you have at the Morris Animal Foundation. But sometimes the percentage of that donated dollar, how much goes for the work and how much goes for the personnel and work behind the scenes. Would you have any idea, Paul, as to the percentage for the Morris Animal Foundation that actually goes for your funding and research and for the cause that we all hope for?
Oh, absolutely. We want to be very, very transparent. I mean, fundraising 101 is you get $1. The dollar needs to be used in the way it was intended, and you need to let the donor know that. And you also, before you ask for my next $1, I want to see some outcomes. So we want to be transparent. You mentioned we're a 4-star Charity Navigator 4-star charity, which is the highest rating. That's based on, without getting too technical, that's based on our tax form 990. So we have to report to the revenue service every year, and it shows you this is what we've spent to keep the lights on. This is what we've spent on helping animals. So our percentage right now, and it fluctuates every year, but it's around 78% of every dollar or every cent you give us goes directly to the animals. The remaining 22% goes to keeping the lights on.
That's huge.
So that's huge, and again, it's transparent. So we've got Charity Navigator 4-star rating. You can go on our website and pull up how it's called the Form 990. It's essentially our tax returns, and you can see that every year. So that's transparent, and that's what Charity Navigator bases a lot of their grading, if you will. They look at the 990 to decide what star rating you're going to get. And sometimes we're not always because it's changed every year. Sometimes we're a 3-star. Well, why? Well, we may not have raised enough money, as much money as we did the year before, or some of our costs went up. But the mix is typically around that 78-22% range, or 75-25 if you like, which is huge. I mean, that's why we're 4 stars, and we're totally transparent about that.
Well, I've been talking to Paul Raybould. He is the Executive Vice President for the Morris Animal Foundation, an organization that has been doing tremendous work, not just for cats and dogs, but for all species, and helping people at the same time. Paul, thank you so much for being a guest today.
Yeah, Dr. Cruz, thank you for having me on. It's been wonderful spending time with you, and you can all help us create a healthier tomorrow for animals. We can't do it without you guys, but stop on by the website, check us out.
Great. My leaning is always trying to have us be the best pet owners that we can be, and the Morris Animal Foundation does just that. Thank you so much for listening. Please tune in again next week. We'll have more information on how you can enjoy your pet to the fullest. Thank you so much for listening.
Pets can be a wonderful addition to your life. Keeping them healthy and happy is important. Pet Life Radio presents The Pet Doctor. Whether you have a dog, cat, reptile, or rabbit, you'll find answers for your pets straight from the vets. The Pet Doctor, on demand every week, only on PetLifeRadio.com.